Hi everybody, Keith Tanner here from Flyin Miata, and today I'm going to talk to you about an exciting new suspension option from Koni called the GTS. Before we get into this particular setup, I just want to remind you, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, make sure to sign up for notifications, make sure you comment on the videos, because if you comment on them, we can answer your questions. If you comment while we're shooting this live, then I'll do my best to answer them live. We've got some people watching the comments over here. If you ask a question in the comments or have something to say in the comments in the future, we do read all the comments. We will pay attention to what's going on there too. So we try to make this as interactive as possible as we can, considering that I'm talking to a camera and not actually to a person. So, Koni GTS. Start with just a little bit of history about Koni. We've been dealing with Koni for a long time. They were the go-to for a good Miata shock back when Miatas were running showroom stock back in 1990. Well, they weren't running them in showroom stock because they were literally stock from the showroom. Couldn't even repaint the cars back then. But Koni's been a solid solution, solid answer for Miata shock absorbers ever since the beginning. And Koni itself actually developed the first adjustable hydraulic shock absorber 80 years ago. Hydraulic being important because they did friction shocks before that, which were tightened by just tightening down the thumb screw, but we're not going to get into that level of nerdery today. They are based in the Netherlands, so these are actually Dutch-made shocks. For some reason, there's a lot of really good suspension comes out of the Netherlands, but they are not some random company with a CNC mill based over in Asia putting out stuff that they saw pictures of on the internet. These guys are the real thing. They've been around for a long time. So, what is the GTS? Now the GTS, I'm just going to start off with fitment. It's only available currently for the ND Miata. There is the possibility we could engineer one for the NA and the NB. The NC is unfortunately not available to us for licensing reasons, but currently they are in stock today for the ND version. And Koni decided to start with the ND for whatever the reasons are, probably because it's the new shiny car. That's how it works. But effectively, imagine if you took a Koni Sport, the tried and true Koni Sport, put on a threaded body, and turned it into a coilover. That's more or less what they've done. It's not exactly what they've done, but you can think of it that way. It's got a lot of the attributes of the Sport. It's got a lot of the advantages of the Sport, the characteristics of it in a lot of ways, but it also has the added adjustment ability of being a coilover. That gives you the ability to set the ride height where you want it to be, within certain limits, of course. It gives you the ability to corner weight the car for ideal handling, and it gives you the ability to change out the springs easily, because factory springs are not linear like this. They're well, here's a factory spring. They're a tapered design, which makes it difficult. If you want a spring that's an extra, 50 pounds on top of this, you're going to go to a custom spring manufacturer to get that made for you. That's not really viable for a lot of people. So, the fact that it uses a standardized 2.5 or 2.25 inch spring makes it easy to adjust your spring rates if you do have a specific application, if you've done an engine swap, if you're doing specific track work, if you've done extreme lightning to the car, whatever, you want to run different rates, this will allow you to do that. So one big thing about Koni, and it's a big plus in our books, is the fact that they have a lifetime warranty for the original owner. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but honestly, if you own the car for a long time, it is really important. I've actually had Koni warranty of leaking shock after 18 years. So I can, and that was on my personal cars, so I can vouch for the fact that yes, they really do stand behind their stuff, and they are built for that lifetime warranty. The fact that only 1 out of 4 shocks needed to be replaced after 18 years tells you a lot. So that longevity is a big deal for us. Another reason that we like these particular ones, and I'll get into their attributes and particularly what we like about them, but one of the big things is that they are a single piece body. They are designed for maximum compression travel, actually very slightly more compression travel than factory shocks. We did all the dimensional measuring on them. And that means that you get full range of motion. A lot of coilovers out there, they run multi-piece shocks. The problem with that is you have a shorter shaft length that you can run. You can't get as much overall travel. And it also means that unless they are adjusted correctly, you will lose compression travel. There's really only one correct setting for the length of the body of the shock, and that is the setting these are set to. We did an entire video on multi-piece shocks, the myth of suspension preload. You can check that out on our channel. But basically, yes, these are adjusted by moving the perch up and down. No, you are not adjusting preload, you're adjusting ride height. Preload is a side effect of ride height, and they effectively have zero preload anyway because they have these little guys on them. So don't fall for that particular marketing ploy. It's not a thing. Okay, so driving. Of course, before we jumped in and added these to our catalog, we've actually ordered them a long time ago. We got them a while back. And the very first thing we did when we got our 2024 development car was put a set of these on so we could actually drive them on track, evaluate them, and give you more than just these are in the catalog, so we decided to add them. So we've actually got real world experience with these things before we gave them the okay to add them to our catalog. And I can tell you that on the track and on the street, it gives the car a very, very sharp feeling. It's a very playful feeling. It's extremely neutral, very forgiving. I was able to throw the car around right from the start. It was very friendly to me, but it was eager. It was diving into the corners, very quick turn in, very responsive. And on the street, the ride quality, when paired with our sways, is actually better than the stock Bilsteins that came on this car. So, and that's even at the lower ride height, like you see here. We didn't measure exactly how much we lowered the car. We set it up to be, I think, very slightly lower than our Flyin Miata springs because of the spring rates. But they'll drop 1 to 2 inches, somewhere around there. I think Koni says 25 to 55 or 60 millimeters drop, so that's 1 to 2.5, we'll call it. But even with that lower ride height, we found that the ride quality was at least as good as stock, if not better, and it had this great engaging feeling. It's one of the few cars I've driven that sort of eggs you on to try to drive a little faster. The other car that I have like that is my classic Mini. It just always is whispering in your ear saying, hey, do something stupid. And this car has a little bit of that going on. It's like, come on, let's go play. Let's go drive harder. Yeah, one thing we did find, these are not valved the same as the Sports. This is not just a Sport with a set of coilovers or a set of threaded sleeves on it. They did adjust the valving, and it is a more aggressive valving because Koni is expecting you to use this in a more sporting manner than the Sport. So the standard springs that come with them, it's a 350 on the front, 175 on the rear, well, other way around, this is the rear. They're very close to what we use for our own shocks, our own springs, but the difference here is these shocks are valved to use that as a minimum spring rate. In other words, they will accept much higher spring rates if you decide to throw that at them. Koni estimates or says around 700 in the front, 550 in the rear for maximum. We've not tested that yet. But we did find when we drove them with stock sways that the car felt a little over damped. It was a little more aggressively damped than we prefer. If you're a fan of the original ND club suspension, maybe you'd like that. But we found that when we paired it with a set of our sway bars, that gave enough extra spring rate for the shocks to work against, and all of a sudden the ride quality improved. And of course the car became much sharper because of that extra stiffness on turn-in and the extra roll stiffness overall. So we strongly recommend you pair these with a set of aftermarket sway bars. We do of course recommend they be Flyin Miata sway bars for obvious reasons, but that is what we've tested and we found it to be a very, very good combination. That's our Stage 2 kit. We do have those available on our website. Now, one of the questions we got is why did we choose these coilovers to add to our line instead of brand X, whatever, pick your favorite coilover. Well, one big reason is the travel. Anytime we see a multi-piece coilover, that's a no-go. We have seen brand name coilovers with adjustable bodies that use springs that were shorter than the actual shaft travel available on a stock shock. Not just the free length of the spring, but not just the actual compression ability of the spring, but the actual free length. Obviously a no-go. That's going to be a car with very, very limited suspension travel. It's going to be lifting wheels all the time. It's not going to have the ability to take big bumps, to take big heaves on the racetrack, or be aggressive on curbs. So we had to have the travel for it, which Koni, of course, delivered. Another big reason, of course, is their support, is their durability. We know that these shocks will last for decades. We've used them for decades. Well, okay, 18 years in my case, one of them lasted, but we'll call that pretty darn good. So that was a big reason why we decided to test these in the first place. It was simply because we know Koni, we worked with Koni for a long time, and we know that their stuff is solid, it's very well engineered, and we knew that we wouldn't have to worry about durability of the spring of the shock down the road. Now, one of the little thing that I actually wanted to mention about this, you can't see it very well when it's assembled, but one of the things they did with this is they added a little plastic washer in here, and that acts like a low-budget Torrington bearing. The reason is because springs, as they extend and they contract, they actually rotate slightly, they twist. And if you don't have something to allow them to slip in there, they will bind. And that will add a little bit of stiction to the suspension. Everything just works a little less well. And this is a really good way to add that rotational ability without the expense and complexity and short lifespan of a bearing. So we actually do this in our Foxes as well. It's a great sign of a well-engineered coilover. So one of the questions, of course, is how do they compare to our Foxes? Well, they do share a lot of attributes. They are an adjustable coilover. You know, of course, we've got the fully threaded perch on these things. They both have basically the same travel available to them. The overall, the fully compressed length is the same. The overall travel is the same. So that's excellent. That was a big priority for us when we developed the Foxes. So it's good that Koni did the same thing. The Foxes are lighter. They have an aluminum body. They have a smaller diameter body, different construction inside, but they do weigh a little bit less. They are more of a race shock. They are actually built for us in Fox Racing's facility in North Carolina by hand. So they are a hand-built race shock. They do need slightly more frequent rebuilds. They do have, I think they have better valving simply because we have the budget to put into really high-end components inside. Things like the shims on these things are not stamped, they're ground, which doesn't sound like much, but it means basically everything inside is much more, is extremely high quality. They were built to a different price point. So fair enough. Another question is, how do they compare to a set of Koni Sports with our springs? And that's probably a better comparison. Put this aside. I don't have one here to wave around. The technology is the same. They are both, these are twin tube shocks, just like the Koni Sports. The Foxes are a monotube. The biggest difference, of course, is that ability to change ride height. That is, you can set the ride height where you want it to be, and from a performance standpoint, more important than that, you can corner weight the car. That's important if you're really trying to set a car up to work as well as possible. The spring rates are slightly different. They're published on our website as to what the rates are. Not dramatically, but this shock is valved for more aggressive use. It does have basically higher levels of damping in it. It will respond a little quicker. It will handle higher spring rates. So this gives you more room to grow if you do grow in your automotive journey and start doing more track time, more autocross. You want to start fine-tuning the platform a little bit more with different spring rates, different ride heights or rakes or corner weighting. This gives you the ability to do that. So that is the biggest advantage. Plus you have that, of course, that coilover advantage, being able to change out the springs. So that's the biggest thing. However, they both share that same lifetime warranty, which is a huge plus if you've ever dealt with finicky shocks. Do we have any questions going on over there, guys?
Sure.
Mike.
Comment on them, comparing them to others.
Can I comment on them compared to brand X? I don't like to do direct comparisons to other people's shocks or other people's suspension because every time someone else does it to ours, they get things wrong. So if I make comments compared to other suspensions, I will get things wrong. However, if you are looking at another brand of coilover, that one big tell, the one tell that says that this is more of a half-assed effort, is a two-piece body. If you've got that two-piece body and people start talking about adjusting preload versus adjusting travel, that's a sign that someone doesn't understand how suspension works, and it's a sign that someone is trying to sell you a generic shock cartridge with an adapter stuck on the end. So in terms of actual performance, you can really feel a difference if you have a two-piece shock that is limited on droop travel. You can really feel that on crests. You can really feel it, say, going over a set of railway tracks. You can feel it if you're being aggressive going over the corkscrew at Laguna Seca, for example. You can tell that those rear wheels, those inside wheels are not dropping down to make contact with the pavement, or the whole car is just going light on its wheels, which means no traction. You need that droop travel to be able to make it work. So don't give up compression for droop. Don't give up droop for compression. Get as much travel as you can. Do you have any more questions over there, Mike? No more questions. One question I know we're going to get about this car. Those are 17 by 8 plus 45 wheels with a 235/40/17, because people always ask us what the wheels and tires are. And yes, those are Flyin Miata Kokeki exclusive wheels. Great looking wheel. That is the bright silver finish. But yes, people always want to know. There's no spacers on this one, and this car is actually missing some components underneath at the moment because it's been torn apart for investigation, but that you can set the ride height. These being a coilover, you can set the ride height basically where you want it to be within reason. If you go too low, you'll spend too much time on the bump stops. That is the nature of suspension tuning, but you can always go with a stiffer spring to make up for that. Anything else over there? No. Okay. So one advantage we have, these shocks are available from multiple vendors because Koni does sell to just about anybody. One advantage is we ordered ours before they shipped, so therefore we have a good stock of these in-house right now. If you look at some generic shock warehouse, they might say they have them, they'll say, oops, they're out of stock because Koni doesn't have any in the warehouse right now. We do have these at the moment, and we can talk to you. If you have questions, give us a call. We can talk to you about what they actually feel like to drive, because all of our customer support folks have driven these cars. We have actual experience with these on track. And I've got to say, if I was buying an ND right now, I would probably throw a set of these on immediately. I'm very happy with them. Any more questions?
Yes.
Yes, Mike, what's your question?
If somebody doesn't want to lower the car, can they keep stock ride height and be functional?
If somebody doesn't want to lower the car, can you keep the stock ride height and be functional? We haven't explored to see what the maximum height is. The limitation on there is going to be coil bind on the spring. Given that it's a nice long spring, I don't think that will be a problem. The shock has enough droop travel to make that still work because it has very similar droop travel to stock. This, I can't remember if I got a front or a back here. Oops. Got to match which end I'm looking at. Yeah, this one, I think I've got the wrong ends. There we go, I had it right the first time. So the droop travel's similar. This is the, I don't have the measurements in front of me. I don't remember which one I pulled out. So yeah, there's a very slight loss in droop travel, but you do have all that compression travel going on. We haven't tested maximum ride height. I think you should be able to get there. The only thing you've got to watch for is that coil bind, and given the amount of space available between these coils, that should not be a problem. Anything else, Mike? They do come, this is an interesting note, they do come with these spacers on here. These white spacers are a standard feature on Koni. They've got a little slot in them, partly so you can pull them on and off, but also so that the bump stop doesn't sort of suction itself to the top of the shock effectively. It works as a little valve. They come with 2 to 4 of these, depending if you're looking at front or rear. Based on our measurements, the only reason you would do this if you're running an oversized wheel. If you're running a wheel tire package that's taller than stock, say a 245 40/17, you might need a few spacers on here to prevent rubbing at full compression. Based on our measurements and our testing, you don't need any of these. You need one of these. All Konis need one. So you could probably get away with the 3 that are on here. That's how this car is set up right now. But it does come with basically those spacers, bump stop packers, so you can fine tune your compression travel if you're running a very tall tire and you need to limit it. We don't recommend you do that unless you really have to, though, because you're just losing overall travel when you do it. So don't run any spacers unless you're required to. And in our measurements, you don't have to. But Koni included them, so what are you going to do? All right, if you have any more questions about the GTS, about our Flyin Miata suspension kits, feel free to contact us either through our support at Flyin Miata email, either through our phone number, 970-464-5600. It was a different phone number when I started at Flyin Miata 24 years ago. 970-464-5600. Operators are standing by. Drop us a question on Facebook, on Instagram, on this YouTube video, whatever you want. We'd be happy to help you out. So, I hope you guys are as happy and excited with these new coilovers as I am, and we'll be back next week with something else interesting. In the meantime, my name's Keith Tanner from Flyin Miata. Good talking to you.